Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Spectre Approved podcast, a podcast where two gamers play a game where we fight for the Emperor. I'm your host, Adam Forrester, and I am once again joined by Fenris. How you going?
Oh, I'm doing all right. How you doing? How you been?
Oh, mate, where to begin? I could potentially turn this into a Yabs Pod spin-off with how I could complain about work, so I will keep it short and sweet. I hate being a people manager at the moment.
Yeah.
Is all I will say with that. Yeah, like people whinge about HR, but actually when you're on the side of not doing anything wrong, they're actually quite good to work with, though. So that's one good thing. I've basically had some employees that have been doing the wrong thing, and when they get called out on it, they deny it, which makes it even worse. So it's just been a big HR nightmare. And as you may or may not know about Australia listeners, we're quite namby-pamby when it comes to laws. So even if someone is doing the wrong thing, it's really hard to fire them without either giving them a big payout or like potentially stuffing yourself over as well. So I've had to navigate all of that at work, so that has taken up a lot of my time. And yeah, so which is why this is a bit of a belated episode. Sorry, Kana, it's taken us a long time to get here, but we are finally here. But what's been going on with you?
Not much. Work has finally started slowing down a bit. Through the power of therapy, I'm discovering more about myself than I thought possible.
Fantastic.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. I've been playing a lot of Final Fantasy 14. Haven't really been playing too much of the games that I need to play for the podcast, but
We're a little bit ahead. It's all good. I do, just to touch on Final Fantasy 14 though, that picture you posted in the MMO chat yesterday looks freaking amazing, man. Like, if Fortnite didn't have some awesome collabs coming up, like, it almost makes me want to jump back into it.
Yeah, so the picture you're referring to is a healer glam that I handcrafted all by myself without help from any external parties. I don't mean mods or anything, but like there's a whole website that is dedicated to Glamour. And Glamour is basically for the WoW heads out there. It's basically just a transmog. Basically, it's you have gear, and then you can glamour over that gear something that is more appealing to you as a character instead of having like dungeon gear on all the time or something.
Yep.
And I wanted to do a Plague Doctor themed healer set. So I went through and I sourced out a Plague Doctor mask with, a separate chest, arms, legs, feet, and then weapons for all my healers. So
that's what drew my eye to it, was the mask, and I'm like, ooh, nice.
And it's all color coded and it looks really good, and I was really happy with the way it came out. And then I turned around and did the same thing for Tank Roll Glam too. So, but I didn't post that one.
Yep. Yeah, I have to say that's something I've been noticing more in modern games, because I think it's it was in Assassin's Creed Resynced, Black Flag Resynced, which I really appreciated. The ability to, I guess, have your weapons look like whatever they want, but still retain your stats, which
Yeah.
I'm always a big fan of, because there's nothing worse than back in the day with RPGs where like the really cool armor or weapons had rubbish stats, and like the pink tutu was like the highest defense armor.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's good that you can have that creativity to, I guess, have your character how you want.
Yeah.
Particularly in third person games. Because I'm playing a first person game at the moment, which has a heap of third person customizability. Which kind of makes me pissed off it's not in third person, because I don't get to see all the cool stuff my character has.
But you can. Every time you go back to your apartment, you can look in the
Yeah,
mirror.
I know. I took a screenshot of that, but I don't know. I want to see my V all the time. Um, but it's funny because I watched a no clip video of what third person camera in Cyberpunk actually looks like, and it's hilarious with how
Yeah.
the body's contorted with the movement style. Like, I can see why it's first person. Um,
Yeah, and I think I've seen the video you're talking about.
Spoilers: Cyberpunk 2077 may be coming up though, sooner than anticipated. Um, but yeah, let's get into Warhammer. That's not the game we played for the show. So we played Warhammer 40k Dawn of War, which was recommended by patron at the time, Kana. So thank you very much for that recommendation. I know she is a big Warhammer fan. So before I dive into like the development and the game kind of stats, um, what's your experience with Warhammer or just RTSs in general?
Absolutely nothing.
Okay.
I know that Warhammer is probably the biggest RTS series out there, but that's really about it.
Okay, so you never got into the tabletop stuff?
No,
No? Okay.
no.
We had a games workshop near in the shoppings or in the major shopping center near where I grew up. And as a kid, it was always like you'd walk past and you'd see like all the cool stuff in there. But my parents kind of steered me away from it, probably because of the price tag attached. However, I had a friend in primary school who was very much into the figurines. And that kind of like I was tangential to what Warhammer was growing up. Because they also had like, those magazines in news agencies where they kind of have an ongoing thing where if you buy every issue, you get a new figure, blah blah blah, to try and draw you in. And then of course the later issues in the series are always less produced to try and get you the money to sign up and do the catalog stuff.
Yeah,
Um, so I didn't have much exposure to the tabletop. And I didn't think that I owned this game prior to playing it for the show. However, I did, because I'm like, as I booted up, I'm like, oh, this is super, super familiar. So I rang my mum, who I still have a lot of stuff in my family home, just because I live in a different state to mum. So moving that stuff would have been a financial burden at the time because removal is so expensive. So I said, "Oh, Mum, I'm going to send you a screenshot. Can you have a look in like my real old PC game stuff, and have a look for this to see if you have it?" And I sent you a screenshot of it, Fenris. So it turns out I actually did have this game prior to playing it for the show.
yeah,
Um, and it was a different iteration because it came with the first expansion. So it wasn't the 2002 or 2003 initial release. It was like because it was on a DVD ROM, which I completely forgot existed as well, in that kind of later life of disc-based PC gaming. Yeah, so I had this. I had played it briefly before it came up for the show. And I guess I've dabbled with other Warhammer games themselves. To be honest, nothing has really gelled with me to like beat one fully. Because I've started Darktide, I've started Bolt Gun, and I think I've played Dawn of War 3 briefly as well. But yeah, nothing played to completion. However, I am a bit of an RTS lover. I grew up with Red Alert, and Red Alert 2 on the PC, and then as I moved into late primary school, early high school, my friends and I played a shit ton of Warcraft 3, particularly the Dota mod on that. But I really enjoyed like the Warcraft 3 story, played Frozen Throne expansion, never really got into WoW or Dota itself, but we always, like, one of my friends, his dad was a big PC head, so they had about 4 PCs in their garage that we would just LAN up and go to his place on the weekend and just play the Dota over and over and over. Like, yeah, so many good memories.
What was it called? A land
Yeah,
party?
yeah. So a lot of good memories attached to Warcraft 3 in particular. Don't really want to go back to the remastered. And like I've dabbled in like Blizzard's other stuff. I've dabbled in StarCraft, although that I didn't really get on with that as well because that requires a certain play style. As does Warcraft, and Red Alert, and Dawn of War requires something different. But that's like my history, I guess, with RTSs.
Yeah, I don't have any experience in RTSs. This is my first stint into that genre. Like you, in high school, we had computers in one of the rooms that I hung out in before school, and my friends were always playing. I don't even know. It might have been a Red Alert game. I honestly wouldn't be able to tell you. I was always playing Halo or
Yep.
Pinball. Um, and they just never really looked like games that I could really enjoy, and so like I never really tried to play them. So this was my first time getting into a.
Yeah. But what is Dawn of War 1? So Warhammer 40k Dawn of War launched on September 20th, 2004 for Microsoft Windows. Published by THQ and developed by Relic Studios. And it was obviously marketed heavily towards RTS fans while also promoting it within the existing Warhammer community. Critically, it did quite well. A lot of critics noticed how faithfully Relic had translated the tabletop warfare into the real-time strategy experience. And at the time, players praised the game's aggressive pacing, impressive visuals, cinematic battles, and exceptional sound design. Places like Metacritic, overall scores ended up averaging between 8.5 and 9.5 out of 10, and it was consistently like nominated for strategy game awards, PC awards in the 2004-2005 kind of era. Relic I hadn't actually heard of prior to like this game and doing some research. However, they're a Canadian developer, and I recognize some of their onward going games, particularly the Company Heroes series, which is like a squad based RTS, which is reminiscent of this, obviously coming out after that. Relic did have a reputation in the strategy games industry because they had Homeworld after Dawn of War, or before Dawn of War, sorry, which was like a 3D space combat RTS. based more around like ship combat, I think. Which I guess because I don't know, like I said, I was kind of outside the community back in the early 2000s, but I think the research I've done, the games had a pretty mixed reputation at the time. Because there'd been games like Final Liberation, action games like Fire Warrior, because like Warhammer itself in the game sphere was kind of on a downturn, but the tabletop was obviously super popular and strategy games were super popular. So they kind of, I guess, Relic and Games Workshop really kind of were on the money to kind of get together and bring this out at the time. And I guess looking forward as well at like the boon of Warhammer games that we have to choose from these days, it probably like reinvigorated the PC market or the gaming market in terms of Warhammer.
Yeah, for sure. Um, like I said, like Warhammer is a widely known name of a series, and doing a little bit of research, you said it was THC that did this.
THQ. Yeah, not THC.
Yeah,
That's
THQ. Yeah,
something else.
that's something else. Sorry. Um, yeah, I did notice that THQ is solely behind the Warhammer franchise.
Okay, wow. Yep.
As yeah, yeah, they have done all of the Warhammer games.
Wicked. Okay, so they're all in as a publisher.
Yeah,
Yeah, cool.
THQ Nordic, correct?
Yes. Yep. And I think Sega has
Yeah.
partnered as well for some of the later from memory. Um or maybe they bought THQ Nordic. That's probably it. So we both played this on PC. It's the only way to get it.
Yes.
And I think anyway, like I've played a couple of RTS translations to console, namely Halo Wars, and if I'm being honest, these games can only effectively be played with a mouse and keyboard. I think controller just is not the way to get the fullest experience for these games.
Yeah, which kind of begs the question why that company Bungie made um, Halo Wars for
Hmm.
consoles, because it doesn't make any sense. I could be completely wrong in that, but it's like Halo is a console game,
Yep.
so I'm making an assumption that Halo Wars was also for the
Yeah.
consoles.
It was an Xbox 360, maybe Xbox One exclusive at the time.
Let's see, Cloud, Xbox One, 360, and
Yeah. So at
Windows.
the time, it was
Yeah,
a 360 game, but I think, and again, a little bit off topic, but I think maybe Bungie and Microsoft were trying to pull maybe some PC gamers into the console sphere. But then obviously we saw the opposite
probably.
thing happening, and Microsoft made games more games accessible to PC gamers, which I am eternally grateful for. Let's just hope it continues on that way. I completed
Yeah.
the base campaign for this and had a bit of a play around in Skirmish, which I think is where RTSs shine the most. Campaigns are never their strongest point, in my experience with RTSs. And even if it's offline skirmish where you're playing against AI, it gives the most breadth and most ability to experiment with the different factions and races and strategies that you can use to try and win. Um, I didn't play the expansions. I'll talk about them in a little bit though. Uh, Fenris, how'd you go in getting through this game?
Well, I made it through the introduction, and then I put it down and never picked it back up again. Um, Playing through the introduction, it made me realize that my biases against RTS games and that they're just not for me um, ring completely true. I am not a fan of this kind of gameplay at all.
Hmm.
It's just I don't mind a little bit of micromanaging, but RTS games just like cranks it up to 11. And for me personally, it just takes the fun out of the game.
Yep, that's fair. Um, I think all up, it took me, or I put about 8 hours into this game. To roll credits on the campaign and uh, have some fun in skirmish. So what like just an estimate about how much time you spent with the game?
Oh, I only spent an
Okay,
hour
1 hour.
playing this
Okay,
game. Yeah.
that's cool. Other friend of the show, 1H1D, only do an hour for every game they play. So it is a, I guess, recordable amount of time that we can say to have an opinion in a game. And sometimes when you know, you know. Um,
No.
I guess in terms of, might dive into mechanics a bit before everything else because this is like you said, it's mechanically heavy. There's lots to do. And it does differ in a way to, I guess, traditional RTS games, which maybe helped it and maybe fits in more with the lore of Warhammer itself or the 40k universe. I'm just going to say 40k because we've got Warhammer, which is like the fantasy side, and then we've got 40k, which is the sci-fi side of the franchise. Um, so a squad-based RTS, which I don't normally get along as well with. So what that means is you build a barracks with your building units, and then you select, for example, Space Marines, and a squad of about 6 to 8 Space Marines comes out, um, and you go from there. For those that haven't played an RTS before, um, another way that Warhammer differs, or 40k Dawn of War differs, is you use capture points for your resources as opposed to like farming. So it means that your strategies, particularly in the campaign to start off with, it's a bit different to what is known in the community as turtling, which is you build a wall around your base, you mass produce heaps of units, and you kind of stay there and bunker down defensively. In 40k, you do have to send out squads into the harsh terrain to fight enemies, and I think there's a lot more at stake there. It's a and it forced me to play a different way to how I normally play RTSs, which I really enjoyed. Um, there's also some vehicles that you can use, and different units have different properties depending on the race you use as well throughout, which I'll get into in a little bit. But how did you, I guess, what's your feedback on the tutorial, Fenris? Like, I know RTS isn't something you get along with, but how did you find like the explanation and the mechanics?
The explanation and training you how to properly play the game, it was really well done, and it was done in a way that made me understand how to play the
Hmm.
game and what I should be doing. Um, Having said that, it is quite a lot because, like I said, you are micromanaging an entire map. Um, and it's just a constant flux of building buildings in your base and raising
Hmm.
troops. And I think you had like 3 or 4 different kind of troops that you could do for the intro, um, and then sending them across the map to capture flags or whatever. And it was a lot, but I have a feeling that um, there was a lot more to the actual gameplay than the intro gave you, because they're only there to teach you how to play the very basics of the game.
Yep. And I think it also has to note, and this will kind of feed into how does the game respect your time. Um, you spent an hour just in the tutorial, correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and each of those missions took at least 45 minutes for the story, even on the shorter side missions. And a skirmish, you'd be probably looking at anywhere between 2 to 3 hours for a meaty campaign. So RTSs aren't games that necessarily respect your time. They expect you to put a lot into them. But I also think they're not trying to hide that fact at all. Um, because if you think about back in the day, RTS basically stems from chess. It stems from warfare, like real life campaigns in a lot of like the human based army games as well. These things are expected to take time, and they don't. I don't think they try to put up the illusion that it's not going to take time.
Yeah, and that's all well and good. Um, I had a point and I forgot. Keep going.
Okay, cool. Um, so yeah, that kind of ends where like mechanics go. Again, the resource management was very different to what I'm used to in RTS games, but that doesn't necessarily make it bad. It did take a bit of getting used to, and by the end of the campaign, I found myself like knowledged up and ready to go into skirmishes. So I do feel the campaign itself was a good teacher of the wider game. The story was a bit weak, if I'm being honest. But again, RTSs aren't really known for their story. They thrive on their mechanics and the replayability because, yeah, people spend hundreds of hours just chucking armies at each other, and that's where the fun is.
That's what I was going to say earlier was about the replayability is that in the hour that I spent playing this game, I quickly saw that it was something that you could just sit down and play heaps of, and if you're into this kind of game, never get bored of, because it seems like a constant cycle of building things and sending troops out and all this stuff. Granted, that's just in the intro that I saw. I'm sure there's a lot more uh, gameplay stuff or I want to call them campaigns, but I know they're not campaigns.
Yeah, that's a good word
That
for
you
it.
can do. Like, yeah.
Um, okay, now I'm going to preface this next part with I am no expert whatsoever in 40k lore. So don't yell at me, internet, if I get something wrong, because I most likely will. But I guess to kind of set the scene for the world, centered around the campaign, to start off with at least, is that because we won't be having a spoiler section for the story for this, because it's pretty typical 40k story. There is one twist, but it's also a game from 2004, so we're looking at over 22 years old at this point, or just about the 22. Yeah, we'd be coming up close to the 22nd anniversary actually at the time of recording, um, which is a happy coincidence.
Yeah.
So 40k, basically, it's a dystopian world set in the future in which there are two main forces battling, vying for control of the world and planet of the universe, I guess. Um, the first being the what's called the Order, which is made up of like humans, space marines, and a variety of other humanoid kind of factions in that, and the second being Chaos, which is like your big bad, your devils, your demons, creatures of the unknown and hell, essentially. Um, but there's no good outcome for this. I say order, but what the order basically is a mechanized planet of which people are forced into slave labor to provide resources for the army to continue their conquering ways. So no one has a happy ending in the 40k universe, because humans are basically enslaved to provide resources to their god, who in the golden age of 40k was like the guardian of light, essentially, to stop chaos and hold it back. However, he lost and was killed, and is basically being kept on life support, and is now used as like a figurehead for the church, who are of course corrupt, to have their grip over humanity. So they're the two main factions, I guess, in the 40k universe that the story looks at. And then we've also got our secondary factions, which are the orcs, who you probably met in the campaign, Fenris. They're
Yeah.
pretty generic presentation of orcs. They're big, they're fierce, they're stupid. They have cool vehicles that are cobbled together from bits and pieces, and that's kind of their faction there. We've also got the Eldar, who are my favorite faction to use, and they're the space elves, for want of a better word. So they rely on stealth, they rely on cloaking, ranged, basically a pretty good space age translation of what elves are in fantasy series. So in the campaign, you play mainly as the Space Marines. You have come to the planet Tartarus to investigate an orc uprising invasion of the planet. And you control mainly the Blood Ravens chapter of the Space Marines, led by Captain Gabriel Angelos, who arrives on Tartarus to repel an orc invasion, before discovering that there is a far darker threat there, because obviously we run into the Chaos Space Marines, who are like corrupted humans, and that is our 4 playable factions. There is a 5th faction called the Imperial Guard. They're like the humans' normal armory. They've got tanks, artillery. They're not like the super soldiers like the Space Marines are, but they're only like, I guess, what you would call like a secondary pop-in. They're like an allied faction that we don't really see throughout. And they are the 4 factions. Each have their positives and negatives. I'd say they're pretty well balanced, from the time that I spent with them. I mainly went between Space Marines and Eldar.
Yeah, I was only introduced to the orcs, I think, in the introduction.
Yep.
I was aware of Space Marines through cultural osmosis. I had no clue that this game also had space elves and other races in it.
Yeah. I actually think you might find the Eldar pretty good to like use. I reckon, yeah, you might gel with it a bit better. Because one thing I will give the Space Marines, like they're tanky, they're like medium to close range, because they've basically got Gears of War guns. Even though
Okay.
this came out before Gears of War 1, didn't it? Gears of War 1 was 2006?
Something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, I was still in high school when
So
it
they've
came
got the
out.
chainsaw rifles and everything. So it's very, very interesting. I dare say that 40K was a strong influence for Gears of War. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because, yeah, you're a big fan of the Gears of War series, aren't you? So, yeah.
Hmm.
Um, and I guess overall, it's not how I like to play. I'm not a player that likes to charge in. Like in Warcraft, I'm a night elf guy. I prefer the stealth, the kind of guerrilla style tactics when it comes to attacking. Um, so Eldar was probably, and I'm probably saying that wrong. It's probably Elder. So don't yell at me, internet. They were my go-to, I guess race there. Um, I think though we can definitely comment on the visuals, because I think we both played the remaster.
I believe
Yeah,
so. Yeah.
because this game had actually quite a few iterations. Because I went looking on eBay because I'm like, oh, I wonder how much my copy is actually worth. Surprise, it's worth not much. Because this was a widely like millions of copies of this game were made. But and I don't know how to really comment on this because I don't work in the video games industry, but for each expansion that was brought out, because there were 3 expansions that were brought out, um, a new a new version of the game came out. Um, so we had Winter Assault, um, Dark Crusade, and Soulstorm. Each were 3 different expansions, each coming with their own, like Winter Assault came with campaign, Dark Crusade maybe did, but each one like introduced new factions. Like Dark Crusade came with the Tau Empire and Necron. Soulstorm came with the Sisters of Battle and Dark Eldar. Which like reading them, I'm like, oh, maybe I should have dived into the expansions because those races sound cool. But I just didn't have the time or inclination to dive that deep this time around. Um, but I guess what I would normally term scummy in in terms of that was they did a full release again of the base game with the like expansion. So there's essentially 4 versions. There's the base game of Dawn of War. There's the game with Winter Assault. There's the game with Winter Assault Soulstorm, and then there's the game. Oh, sorry, Dark Crusade, and then there's the game with base game Winter Assault, Dark Crusade, Soulstorm. Um, I'm hoping that you maybe could have purchased the expansions digitally by this point, but they're still in we're still in the disc era of PC gaming at this point. So I don't know. And I don't know how to feel about like the marketing and release of the further expansions.
Yeah. I don't really remember how disc-based games handled DLC because like everything was on the disc.
Mm.
So I mean, I guess they could like re-release different versions of the game. I really don't
Well, I
remember.
think it looks like that's what they did, and I just don't know how that sits with me. Like obviously at the time, um uh, if I was like still living at home and like a teenager or whatever and didn't have enough money to buy it myself and had to ask my parents would be asking the question of why are we buying the same game again just for an extra expansion? Um, because I know I've compared a lot to Warcraft 3 here, but Reign of Chaos came out as its own thing, the Warcraft 3 campaign and multiplayer. And then when Frozen Throne expansion came out, it was a singular expansion, like by itself, that you did have to buy. And then you fall into the trap, I guess, of buying an expansion without having the base game. Because particularly people that are non-gamers that are buying stuff for gamers, they would think, oh, the new Warcraft thing, I'll buy that for my loved one. And you need the base game to be able to play it. So I guess it's a catch-22. Relic and THQ might have been covering all bases by releasing the base game with every new expansion. But I know I would feel quite annoyed as like a fan, if I was a fan of the ongoing series, to not have the ability to buy the expansion itself.
Yeah. And like while you're sitting there talking, I'm over here like racking my brain trying to figure out how I got the DLC for Dragon Age Origins, because I bought that game for the
Yeah.
360. Um, and I'm just sitting here trying to like figure out, because like I know I had the DLC, but I think it was like a day one DLC, or what it could have been was like a pre-order
Okay.
pack that I got
Yep.
that came with the DLC. Yeah.
Personally, because I do remember how I got the DLC for Origins, was back on the good old Microsoft Store using Microsoft points. Um, at least
Oh
for
yeah.
Liliana's Song and Witch Hunt. And then by then, the disc version of Ultimate Edition had come out with. No, I bought the disc for Awakening. Yeah, so I bought a separate disc for Awakening, but for the little DLCs, I bought them straight from the Microsoft Store.
Yeah, because the little DLCs were Golems of Amgarak, um, which gave you Shale, the feast day gifts and pranks. There was one or two more that you could get that I had, and then it honestly, and this is a tangent, but it wasn't until PC release, whenever because Origins, like I said before on the episode, was the very first game I bought on
Mm-hmm.
Steam, and it came with Witch Hunt and Liliana's Song and all that stuff, and I had never played it before, so.
But it worked though. Their marketing model worked, obviously, because now we've got the Warhammer Ultimate Edition, which is the only way to buy it, I think, is digitally on PC, and it comes with all the DLCs for us. And at the time, they've, from data I could find anyway, I'm sure since we've moved to digital, there's been a lot more. But Warhammer sold 6.23 million across its like physical release with its expansions. And I guess it
Oh,
also kind of spawned, or it really opened the gateway, because now we have like everything Warhammer. There's books, there's comics, there's everything you could think of Warhammer. There's something Warhammer 40k out there. Um, so I guess this game has been lauded with opening the floodgates for that.
yeah.
And even
Like I said, it's only gotten bigger
oh,
too.
100%. You just need to look at Game Pass, and I think there's what, like 5 Warhammer games on there, like 40k games alone.
Something
Yeah.
like that, yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely big, and I'm really happy that they've expanded outside of their genre as well. Developers have really stepped outside their comfort zones. Obviously, THQ's just gone, oh, yep, we'll have you all under our umbrella. Um, if they're the publisher for everything. But you've got a range of different developers who are making like boomer shooters, third person squad based tactics, horror. I would love to see, like, because we're going to talk about a video that we watched to pick our three Warhammer 40k games that we would like to try in the future. Didn't see any proper like RPG based ones on there. But I'd play a Warhammer RPG.
Yeah, and that was something that you brought to my attention that would actually get me to play it. Is that apparently not all Warhammer games are RTS games.
Yeah.
So
And the modding scene is still very active as well. They've got something called the Ultimate Apocalypse mod, which I was having a look on Nexus at. And what that does, it transforms battles into enormous conflicts featuring Titans, super heavy tanks, orbital bombardments, and hundreds of units simultaneously, which just sounds wild and probably overwhelming for someone like you who has trouble with the management. Um, and there's
yeah,
also something that I personally do want to try, which is called the Unification mod, which combines content from numerous community projects, including some of the sequels, and introduces additional factions and quality of life improvements as well. For those that don't want to, because some of the sequels, like I know, 2 is very much lauded in like more of the same good stuff, whereas 3 added a lot more factions and a lot more gameplay elements, but wasn't as well received. So I guess if you want one with all the good stuff that 2 and 3 has with none of the bad, then the unification mod is going to be for you.
sounds like it. Yeah.
Uh, Graphics. So even though we are playing a remastered version of the game, I still think that they very much held up. And even looking at footage from the original release of the game, um, like yeah, obviously your character models look a bit funky, because at the time we had programmer who was Dominic Matthew and artist being Andy Lang. And it used something called the Essence Engine for Windows, which was new graphical effects at the time. And it was also one of the first RTS engines to create detailed faces and facial animations. And then went on to be used in Company of Heroes Dawn of War 2 and Company of Heroes 2. So I'm guessing it's a Relic proprietary owned engine there.
Yeah. And just to say, I agree. The graphics really were they have held up over the years,
Yep.
and I was very impressed with the graphic quality of this game.
Yeah, so much so that you can go in and basically they brought in a really good throwback, I guess, to the tabletop by the fact that you can edit your units and like paint them how you want, just like you were gonna paint them in real life. Like you can create your own flags. You can again, that's a popular thing in the community scene is like the emblems and flag designs for armies, and you can basically make it like an electronic version of your tabletop figurines. Like the detail you can go into in painting, like I was actually really impressed with.
Yeah. There was a Discord server that I used to be in, and one of the people in it was always talking about how he loved to paint minis, and he would always show us like what he was currently working on, or his backlog of minis, or um, like his workstation or whatever. And I had assumed it was for Warhammer. I don't know what else you would spend all that time painting minis for outside of like Dungeons and Dragons, but um, Yeah, I feel like minis and the Warhammer fandom are just like, model kits in the Gunpla
Hmm.
fandom. Like you have all these things that you have to do, and you find more that you want to do, so you buy them, and then pretty soon you're working on one, and you have a 20 item backlog that you may possibly get through at some
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. Um, I also really, really enjoyed the cutscenes. Like, obviously, for the version that we played, um, which was the definitive edition, which only released August 14th last year. Now looking at this.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. So it's obviously had a big, big upscale. Like, I was looking at these cutscenes and I'm like, man, these are like super, super impressive for 2004. And I'm like, oh, now looking at it, I'm like, oh, that's why, because the definitive edition uh, has had an upscale within the last year.
Yeah. I don't remember too many cutscenes. But I also, as previously discussed, did not get very far in the
Yeah,
game.
yep. Even the opening cutscene though um, was like just yeah, super, super good. Oh, here we go. Sorry, I've just found a list of all the retail editions. So we had an initial release in 2004, like I said. Once again, jealous of Americans. You guys got it September 20th, 2004. In PAL territories, we had to wait till September 24th, which is just mean and weird. Game of the Year edition was released September 1st, 2005 in the US and September 23rd in Europe again, containing 4 exclusive maps in the skirmish section. Later, the Game of the Year edition and Winter Assault were bundled in the Gold edition, which I'm guessing is what I've got at home, released in March 2006. Oh, in November 2006, Dawn of War and its first 2 expansions were bundled as the Platinum Collection in the US and Dawn of War Anthology in PAL regions. In March 2008, all 3 expansions, along with Dawn of War, were released in the Complete Collection. And then the Master Collection um, was when Steam and GOG started coming in 2009. That's really late. I swear Steam and GOG were around way before that. But anyway. And the Anniversary Edition replaced the Master Collection as a single package on Steam and GOG as of September 19th, 2024, to commemorate the 20th anniversary of the original game. All owners of the original game were upgraded to the Anniversary Edition for free, which
Very nice.
I always appreciate when developers do that. Um, yeah. Ah, sorry. Also, I'm gonna do a retraction because I've also I was wrong when I was talking about the expansions. Um, out of the expansions, Winter Assault requires the base game, whereas Dark Crusade and Soulstorm are standalone playable experiences.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Um, music and voice acting. Composer was Jeremy Soule, um, who has worked on a number of he's very good in the RPG biz. So Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance, Dungeon Siege, Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, and Neverwinter Nights. His work on Morrowind earned him his second Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences award. And he's gone on to work on Guild Wars, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, and of the like. Um, so yeah, very, very notable composer there. Um, I liked the music. I did not love it. um,
Yeah, it was notable, but it was not great.
yeah. Personally, I lean towards more of like a Mick Gordon Doom kind of style for these dark, gritty games. Um, and it hypes you up, like when you have a heavy riff guitar, heavy drums, and like a real metal beat. It like hypes you up to go to war, essentially, because that's what you're
Yeah,
doing.
yeah.
Whereas I feel Jeremy's talents definitely lie in the more whimsical, in terms of music. Like, I love Oblivion music, but I definitely wouldn't say it fits with a dystopian war RTS. Do you agree, or
No, I agree with everything
yeah,
you've said. Like I said, it only slightly felt out of place. Um, but that being said, like we have played games in the past where the music was good but unnoticeable while playing, and this one at least was noticeable, but it just didn't quite hit the mark.
yep, yeah,
Yeah.
100%. In terms of voice acting, though, I thought we actually had a really high quality for not notable voice actors, I would say. So, again, this was a team of about 30 people in 2002, working on the game. So, like, our main voice actors are Paul Dobson, Mark Oliver, Michael Dobson, and Scott McNeil and Nicole Oliver, and those five people basically voice every unit and character in the game. Um,
And they did a really good job too. Like I remember outside of like uh for the different kinds of things that you could summon for the troops that you could summon, like, they all sounded different.
yeah, definitely.
Um and I just voice acting isn't really something that I take a huge note of because I just kind of take it for what it is. But for this game, like I could definitely tell that there was some passion behind what these people put into it.
Yeah, and I showed you something interesting that I found on a community forum about these voice actors. And like these voice actors share another series or another franchise in common, but it's not what you would
Yep.
expect. It is all of these actors have either acted in cartoons or games in the My Little Pony franchise, which is just an absolutely wild comparison when we look at 40K and My Little Pony next to each other.
Oh, that's why all the bronies are bronies. It's because like they know that the voice actors for all these little animated horses are, their favorite space
Yeah.
marines. Got it. Makes so much sense now.
That's yeah, one of the wilder comparisons that I've found out on my uh, researching rabbit holes. Which is just one more thing that I love about doing these podcasts. So yeah, I'm normally pretty harsh on voice actors, but I think for an RTS, as well, like my bar is pretty low, because I love Warcraft, but the amount of times I hear "ready to work," even when I'm using humans, it's just yeah, not cool. Yet five voice actors were able to have distinguishably different inflections for use of different units.
Yeah, 100% agree with you on that.
Um, so I guess that's all I really had to say on like the development and how to play the game and how it looks and stuff. Um, replayability is complicated when talking with RTSs. There is only one ending to the campaign. However, I feel, particularly with the expansion content now and the amount of content that provides, um, there's hundreds of hours of replayability in this game.
Yeah, because I mean, you mentioned skirmishes, whatever that
Mm-hmm.
is, and you mentioned doing that with like other people or with AI. There's like 3 or 4 DLCs out for this game, I think. So I mean, like you said, there's easily hundreds of hours that you could put into this game if you're into something like that. And then even if you beat the story into the ground, like some people would argue that there's no replayability for Dragon Age or Mass Effect. You play the story once, you beat the game. That's it for
Yeah.
some people. Some people like myself, like I enjoy the aspect of changing my class and trying to see what works where, or mixing and matching different abilities. I don't really know if you can do that here, but different strokes for different folks.
Mm. Yeah, every game's a multiverse with these types of games, in my opinion. Like you could even, and it depends how much you want to RP, really, because you could have like a faction of Chaos Space Marines who are breaking away from the daemons and have refound their way to the light. So you play them and you paint them in like redemption colors, like spoilers for Final Fantasy IV, Cecil in his Paladin arc, like going from Dark Knight to Paladin in terms of like an RP in the 40k universe, however that would look. Yeah, there's so many possibilities. Um,
Oh yeah,
I don't
absolutely.
think personally I'm going to replay it too much. I do want to check out this Dark Eldar just to see how well it is like developed or written because I don't know about them from the lore perspective. Um, but I don't see myself diving in anytime soon.
And that's just something that you could probably dip in real quick and figure out what it's about and be like, oh yeah, that was
Yeah,
cool.
like it is
And if you really,
uh,
well, I was just gonna say like, and if it's something that you really enjoy, I mean, you might plug a couple hours into it, but like, it's not something that you'd have to expend a lot of time on if you don't want to.
yeah, and it's a small game like in terms of size. It doesn't take very long to download, even with all the expansions. A bugbear I have, and I know it's because it how it was at the time. There are no Steam achievements attached to this game, um, which I didn't really like because I think they could have some real fun with it in having achievements set up, particularly if there was a re-release in 2025. Like they could have added achievements.
Something, a couple of them at least,
Yeah,
some really basic achievements
yeah,
maybe.
might even have to check retro achievements to see if there's any on there, because they normally are good at doing achievements for older games that didn't have them in the past. But that was just one personal gripe I had. Um, is there anything else more you'd like to say on the game, or happy to move into recommendations?
We can move into
Cool.
recommendations.
Uh,
Yeah. I mean, I was just like we said at the top of the episode, like I don't have a whole lot to say about this game because I did only play an hour of it. And that's just because my personal biases just made me realize relatively quickly in that RTS games are just not for me. But having said that, like I do know a lot of people that do enjoy them, Adam, you being one of them. Um, so I mean, this game is a game for people. It's just not a game for me,
mhm.
and that's fine. So my rating on this is not fun for obvious reasons that I have given. Um, but it's having learned about the greater Warhammer world through this game that video that Adam sent me about. Someone went through and made a tier list of all the Warhammer games that have been released with some gameplay footage. Like, I would be interested in trying a few of them out because they are less RTS and more like cover shooter or RPG shooter or something like that.
Hmm.
Like, and that is something that is definitely more up my alley. It's just the RTS features and game mechanics and the micromanaging 100 different things is it's not for me.
Yep. Fair. Very fair. Um, I would recommend this game for individuals who both like RTS and like Warhammer. Um, and also people that have really gelled with Company of Heroes. Because the little bit that I have played of that franchise, you can definitely see the DNA that has come from Dawn of War here. Um, I am really on the fence of whether to give this a fun or not fun because it forced me to go out of my comfort zone in how I normally play RTSs. Um, and I did beat the game, but the fact that I wasn't able to roll into the expansions themselves, um, and the fact that I'm a little bit trepidatious about diving back into the expansions means that mainly because of the time commitment that would be required to really delve into into this game series that I would like to, um, probably means I'm not going to return to it. However, if I'm looking at it as a game singularly by itself for the podcast, yeah, I'm going to give it a fun. Sorry, I was rambling. That was a lot of rambling just to get to fun. I was still trying to pass it out in my head.
That's fine. I mean, these games. I mean, I wouldn't say that they're polarizing. Obviously, they're doing something right because they've created dozens and dozens of games under the same name, and it's just it all really comes down to the player. Like, I did not have fun with this game, but you did. You completed the game and you gave serious consideration and you wanted to go into the DLC, but you didn't. And that was a choice that you made. But it doesn't. Uh, I wanted to say delineate, but that's not the right word. It doesn't devalue your choice of giving it a fun.
Yeah,
You genuinely you genuinely had fun with this game, and that's all that really matters.
and that's the thing, listeners. Like, Fenris and I are just two guys that talk shit on a podcast. Like, we can both be wrong. Go out and play the game for
Yeah.
yourself if you like the aspects that we bring up in the podcast. And yeah, write in to our socials and let us know what you think. Um, did you want to do the top three before we dive into the plugs?
Honestly, I don't. I watched that video like 2 weeks ago, and I don't remember any of the games that
Okay.
were on it.
I am going to say my top three, and you can say if you think you would like them if they pop into your memory about what they are.
Sure.
At number three for me is Space Marine 2, which is a third-person cover shooter in the vein of Gears of War. Also has co-op, which I think would be really fun for us to play together if we can wrangle it. Is currently on Game Pass and PS Plus. Yeah. Second one, or number two, is 40k Inquisitor, which is like a Diablo style like, and really delves into like the corrupt church aspect of the Space Marines. because I don't know how much you gleaned from the story from this Fenris with it just being the tutorial, but like they're basically fanatical in the space. The Space Marines are fanatics. If I'm being honest, I don't know why they get so much love that they do. Um, and it's real interesting to see what it's like. And I don't want to spoil too much of the story, but particularly from the Inquisitor character's perspective. And the third game is 40k Mechanium, another RTS like. It's kind of a mix between RTS and Diablo, because it's like uh, isometric stop combat. So even if you think like the first Fallout 1 and 2, Neverwinter Nights, Baldur's Gate 3, in that vein. But the Mechanium are a faction that like they're they're technomancers, tech wizards, for want of a better word. Um,
Uh, it sounds something like that. Yeah, I mean that's the kind of vibe I'm getting from what you're telling
yeah,
me.
and they're like there's just lots of freaky looking stuff in it. So I think it'd be an interesting story. So they are my top three in regards to that.
Nice. Um, I'm just gonna put a blanket statement down, and I've said it before, but like my top three would be any of the ones that are like cover
Okay,
shooters.
so Space Marine, maybe
Space
Dark
Marine,
Tide.
yeah. I think Dark Tide was one of the ones that I remember seeing. I will note that I was very impressed with one of the game's footage where it was like starship
Oh
battles.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um, that looked like it could be pretty fun.
I know which one you mean, but the title escapes me. Um,
Yeah, because like it reminded me of the ship battles from that Star Wars mobile game,
yeah, yep. Oh,
and I always had fun with that.
uh, oh my god, there's so many Warhammer games.
Uh,
Oh, they also made
yeah.
Battlefleet Gothic Armada. That's under
Oh,
40,000. I've got that, yeah. But I think was it maybe Gothic Armada 2 that you saw? That's the only one that kind of
maybe.
jumps
I mean,
out.
the graphics were like really
Yep,
good, and that's all I really remember was that the graphics looked really good, and it was like a space battle with ships, and I was like, oh, that looks like it could be fun.
maybe Rogue Trader as well. Oh my god, there's so many ones that are just space battles. Yeah, like realistically, you could talk about it all day, if we were to delve deeply into the franchise. But yeah, if you guys have recommends, also, please throw them at us. We're happy to consider almost everything. Doesn't mean we'll play it for the podcast, but we will at least consider it. And if you want to make those recommendations, you can head on over to the Discord for the Steam Machine Podcast, Computer Games Podcast Network. Gosh, the name's gotten bigger. Over at bit.ly/TSMP Discord, all caps. That's where Fenny and I hang out, along with all the other cool podcasters in the network there.
Yep. And speaking of Discord, it is led by our fearless leader, Dalton Suter. If you really enjoy the music at the beginning and end of our episode, you can find that at nowthenightmare.bandcamp.com. That's where he puts all of his electronic dance music. It's really good stuff. Go give it a listen. Go buy an album. Really good stuff. If you don't want to do that, you can go support him on YouTube. He is there at Dalton Suter, where he does like a bunch of guitar covers and his own vocal covers, which are, chef's kiss, really good. He posts a lot of them in the Discord as well. Our splash art is by a fantastic artist called Lazarus. You can find his stuff on TikTok and Instagram by that name, Lazarus, as in the pits of. I'm Fen. You can find me, Fenris Wolf Spain, everywhere. That's Discord, Steam, Epic, EA, GOG, Final Fantasy 14 on Gilgamesh on the Ether Data Center, so come say hi. I'm also Fen Wolf on Xbox, and I'm not even going to do Battle.net anymore because fuck
Oh,
it.
okay.
Yeah, I gave WoW a fourth and final shot a few months ago, and I just realized it's dumb. I don't like it. Like I don't. There are things that I really do like about
Yep.
WoW, but there are more things that I just don't like about it, and it's not worth it.
Fair. All right. Well, I'm Spectre approved on most of the socials, being X, Instagram, and Infinite Backlog, which has our tracking list of games and also correspondence. Oh, I did have correspondence. So
Ooh.
I'll probably have to pause the recording to go get my phone to find that. But yes, we can do that in the session break. And I'll just cut it in. Um,
All right.
and I am Metalwolf on Xbox and also Battle.net because in a couple of games I'd like to shout out after this. I've gone back into Diablo 4. They had a good sale with all the
Very
DLC
nice.
there, so I picked it all up. And yeah, that's basically me. If you would like to donate to the pod, we don't have a Patreon anymore, but you can head on over to Red Circle, which is our hosting platform. Just type Inspector Approved there, and there is a donation button. We don't do anything extra, but every little bit helps and is much appreciated. Any contributions to the show. We also have an affiliate link through Keysite K4G. So if you use Spectre Approved at checkout there, again, very similar to an Amazon affiliate link. There's no direct discount, but a little bit comes our way and very much appreciated if you are going to buy from there anyways. Fenny, you had a guest appearance on a network show. Do you want to shout that out? Yeah.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. That was actually what
Oh,
I was
cool.
gonna do next. If you want to see what I am like, not prim and proper for this podcast, go check me out. I guested on Dane and Jeff's Media Dump. The episode has not aired yet, but it is the episode about the movie How to Train Your Dragon, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. There was a lot of cutting up, a lot of stuff. So yeah, go check them out. They do a lot of really good reviews. Not really reviews. They just talk about different media stuff. They do a lot of Nicolas Cage and someone else. They were doing anime, as in ANI-MAY for May,
Mm.
and then for like animated movies,
Mm-hmm.
I guess for May. And then they've got Nicolas Cage, and then there's Russell Fest,
Oh, Kurt
or
Russell. Yep.
yeah, Kurt Russell. That's it. That's the guy's name. Yeah. So bunch of straight dudes talking about dicks. So go check it out. It's a blast. Always a blast listening to them.
Was that the animated How to Train Your Dragon or the live action?
It was the
Okay,
animated
good.
one, and I'm just gonna shoot in that like I personally enjoyed the live action remake, but not a lot of people did.
I am one of those people
But
that did
then
not.
again, it's not for everybody. But like I come at these things from a different viewpoint from a lot of people. A lot of people can only see the mistakes, and I go, "This is what these people would look like in real life." I love it.
Yeah,
So
but yeah, go check that out. Yeah, I haven't had a recording on there, but I am planning to. I'm trying to get them to do backrooms because I would love to talk about that and get some cussing out as well. Because yes, we're
yeah,
professionals over here, but you can see the other side. Particularly if we have a guest for Steam Machine or uh, Media Dump.
Yeah, good time all around.
Cool.
Bunch of really cool people.
Yeah, we do have a really great and really welcoming community, I guess. Like I've been in a lot of Discord servers, and like there's not always a really nice bunch of people, but everyone's really chill and gets along to. Well, it's good natured ribbing. I don't think there's been any proper fights.
I mean, there have been some discourse. Um, there's been a couple debates on things, and I've used that term very heavily, debate, because it was done in a very. I was part of one of those debates, and it was done almost professionally.
Hmm.
Neither one of us lost our tempers, and we came at everything logically, and we talked everything out, and it was done very well. I was very surprised that we were able to maintain a calm and cool head about the topic we were talking about. So,
And I don't even know what you were talking about because I must have missed that one because I'm on a different time zone, so I miss all the juicy stuff. Um,
yeah.
do you have any games you want to shout out,
Uh,
or anime, or anything at all?
No, now that I've got a website that I use to quote unquote legally watch anime on again, I'm probably gonna pick up some anime again. I've been thinking about it really a lot because like I've been a lot of Naruto has been popping up on my feed lately, and I kind of want to scratch that itch and watch Naruto from Shonen Jump all the way through Shippuden
Okay.
again. Just because it's one of my favorite animes,
Yep.
like ever. A lot of life lessons taught in Naruto. But I also have to catch up on my backlog as
Hmm.
usual because it's back over 200 again, and I have to trim that down a little bit. But games, I still haven't beaten Black Flag, but that's fine.
Yeah. It's a
I've
ways down.
definitely, I think I kind of, yeah, I kind of wore myself out on that because I went pretty hard on that for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've been playing a lot of Final Fantasy 14. I do a lot of I don't know if any of the listeners play 14, but I do a lot of deep dungeon content in that, and that is basically a roguelite element in that where you do a bunch of dungeon runs, and each dungeon is, depending on what you do, 100 to 200 floors, and it's all randomly generated, and you have to dodge traps that will blow you up or turn you into a something where you're not able to fight back or anything, or give you status boosts or banes, and it's a lot of fun. It is definitely the number one content that I actively do in that game, and I've been really falling into it lately just because I don't even know why the needle's so far in my arm, like you can't even see the plunger anymore.
Excellent.
But yeah,
I
but I got to put it down so I can finish
that's
other
part of
games.
why we do a podcast to make you stop playing
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 14. I've got a couple of games that I want to shout out. I know I talked about Cyberpunk 2077 at the top of the episode. Um, I'm still mixed about it. I'm not very far in, though I have been doing a lot of side content that I have not been super impressed with, but I'm hoping that will open up more the more story I do and get some more interesting side quests done there. I really want to shout out Buckshot Roulette. I play a fucking lot of gambling roguelites, but particularly horror ones. Like I've talked about Clover Pit, and there's Dice a Million and Black Jacket. They're all horror gambling roguelites. They each have their and Ball X Pit. They each have their own kind of pros and cons. But Buckshot Roulette is the first one that is genuinely like tense for me, I guess, for want of a better word. The camera is really good, and the atmosphere is great, so much so that it's really immersive that you're shooting yourself in the face, and is genuinely like a little bit concerning. So yeah, I want to give a big shout out to Buckshot Roulette. Is on Game Pass at the moment if you own that, so you can give it a try. And I'm doing a bit of a challenge for myself because I play a lot of Fortnite. I know that probably makes me lose some cred. But the new Battle Pass is centered around gaming legends. It's got Pac-Man, Mega Man, Joker from Persona 5, Tetris, and a few other things that haven't been fully released yet, but they've been teased. So a little bit of a challenge I'm doing is going through and playing a game from each of those franchises. And I rolled credits on the first Mega Man yesterday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
I had to cheat my way. It's a very hard game. So I had to use the
Okay.
pause exploit and the rewind function quite a bit. It is a very hard game from the 80s, so but yeah, it was good.
Yeah. 2D side scroller. That reminds me. There's a game that was on my wish list for a long time. That recently released. And it's called Butts in Space.
Yeah, okay.
Porcelain
Yep,
Pearl.
I've seen you and Dane talking about
Um,
that.
yeah, it looks like it's a lot of fun. It's about an astronaut. Um, and it's basically a 2D side scroller platformer
Okay.
game. I remember it's been years since I listened to a reviewer talk about it, and this person made it sound like it was a lot of fun. So I was like, okay, cool, I'll add it to my wish
Mm-hmm.
list. And then here we are. It came out, and I'm probably not gonna ever play it, but I plan on it
Cool.
because it does look like it's a lot of
Yep,
fun. I also did have a couple of shout outs that I wanted to
go
do.
for it.
Like people of note, that game is still a lot of fun. I have to get back into it. And then there's another game called Master Healer Kale with Useless Party.
Mm,
I think I've talked about this game before, but it's basically a dungeon crawler game where you play as a healer and you build up your party with like the tank takes less damage when he's asleep, and you have like a black mage and a rogue, and he's just constantly shooting arrows, and the black mage is shooting fireballs, and it's got great reviews on Steam. It seems like it's a lot of fun, and basically you just build up your party until you're just bullet hell
cool.
on enemies. It seems like it's a lot of fun. I figured I'd do a little short solo episode on
Yeah,
that,
it sounds right up your
along
alley.
with yeah, people of note and horse or butts in space. That way we have some episodes to fall back on should we have to.
Yep. Oh, yes. Yeah, I need a Burnout Revenge is coming out soon. For those that like that franchise, I go into a little bit of that because I've finished that at some point this year and have talked about it. I also just
Yeah.
want to shout out 1666 Amsterdam. Helps if I get the name right. From Panache Studios, they're a branch off of the team from Assassin's Creed. That goes into early access in 11 days. So I will be picking that up. I really enjoyed the demo.
I Yeah, I would also like to pick that up. You spoke highly about the
Hmm.
demo, and I really enjoyed the trailer for it. I never did get to the demo.
Yeah. I think you were able to jump in when I was streaming it at the tail end.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously that doesn't give much insight. But yeah, there is about half an hour to an hour demo on Steam at the moment for free. So yeah, go check that out. Cool. And we didn't even say our next episode. So the next game that we'll be covering in a couple of weeks will be Fear. F.E.A. Nope.
Nope.
No?
Nope.
Okay.
No, we already did.
No.
Or wait. Have we? We have done Fear. Yes. Our next game is going to be Greedfall: Dawn of War.
Greedfall 2.
Greedfall 2,
We haven't
yes.
recorded Fear. No.
Haven't we? I thought we did.
Nope.
Well, then my tracking is off because I could have sworn we did Fear.
We haven't talked about Fear.
Oh. Well, then let's just
I'll
you
edit
know
that out.
reverse all that because like I thought we had already
That's
done
why
Fear.
I was like,
Okay.
oh, you've got plenty of time to finish Greedfall 2.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I could have sworn we did Fear. Okay. I guess not. Okay.
Yeah, first account Assault Recon, first person horror shooter from Monolith Soft.
Yeah. It's a fun little game. I enjoyed my time in that game.
You should check out Topang Squared if you enjoyed Fear as well. It's a like modern homage to it. Also on Game Pass. Come on, Sharma.
Oh, we didn't do Fear. Okay.
You...
Sorry, no, I'm not paying attention to what you're saying because I'm trying to figure out where my tracking went
Yeah, because we
wrong.
had to shift Warhammer around a bit.
Yeah, we had to shift Warhammer. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So I'm caught up. We're good.
Cool. As long as one of us
Okay.
knows
Yeah.
on the day which game we're talking about, we'll be able to swing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
I swear to God, we're professionals. We know what we're doing.
Um, yeah, I'll close out with some Dawn of War music today, and hopefully we don't get copyright striked, but we'll see how we go. If not, I'll meld in our normal outro music. But thank you once again, everyone, for listening. This has been Spectre Approved. I am Adam,
And I'm Fenris.
and happy gaming.
Bye.